Out of all my friendships, the art adjacent ones just felt special. These are my most memorable memories about art friends. June, an insanely talented artist, so skilled that she got accepted into a competitive art school on her first try. When we were younger, right after school, we would hop into Skype to talk and draw well late into the night. For some nights, as late as 5 a.m. We would use this website called iscribble.net to draw together on a shared canvas. I would draw my little anime characters and she would draw her characters interacting with them. While drawing, we'd spend hours talking about our future plans, what we wanted in life, and what happened when it's all over. It might sound boring to some of you guys, but to us, two introverted artists, it was so much fun. June and I were close. She was my best friend, a person I could rely on to talk to about anything, and in return, she could always rely on me to do the same. It was a quiet, boring, and peaceful friendship without any drama. I like that. It was nice. I have a weirdly sweet memory of her that no matter how many years had passed, I can never forget. It's kind of funny as this memory started with a phone call and me bare-ass naked in the bathroom, dripping water everywhere, trying to decipher what June is saying as she is heart-sobbing through the phone. My dumbass had nothing to say, no words to comfort her, just the occasional and ohs. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened for a while and let her vent out her thoughts. But remember, when I answered the phone call, I was mid-shower, so here I am, in the bathroom, dripping wet, cold, naked, and is on the phone for a good 10 minutes now. I couldn't bear it anymore, so I told her, "Hey, my balls are shriveling up from staying out of the shower, completely naked and cold. Can I call you back?" Okay, I did not say that. But I made some stupid comment about being called mid-shower and told her to call me back in a little bit. Somehow, whatever I said at the time, I got a little giggle sob out of her. I remember feeling so relieved by that little single giggle before she hung up. She's feeling a little bit better. For a moment I stood there, confused. Then I finished up my shower, dried off and got dressed. And the moment I got out of the bathroom, I gave her a call. By that time, she had completely stopped crying and told me what had happened. I don't really want to repeat what she told me because it felt a bit personal, but all she asked of me was to stay on the call with her until she fell asleep. And so I did. We just talked and talked all night long. Whatever topic I could think of, whatever topic I can distract her with, I just rambled on and on until my mouth went dry. I don't really consider myself as a person who talks a lot, but that night, I was an expert yapper. As if I had a PhD in yaptology from the University of Yappery, I would not shut the f*** up. I just wanted to make her feel better. At the time, that was the only thing I could do. I don't remember when I fell asleep. I just remember talking, and then my rambling gets slower, quieter, and softer. And her replies got shorter, her voice lowered beyond a whispering level, and then silence. My last bit of memory was hearing her softly breathing through the phone as I slowly drifted off. The following day, our class had this drawing from life assignment. We can go around the school, find 3 subjects and draw them. Most picked flowers, benches, or statues scattered around the school. I vaguely remembered drawing a flowery pot thing in a secluded area, and to my right was June, who I assume was drawing the same thing. Before the class ended, June showed me her 3 drawings. Flowers, some rocks, and a bench. And then she handed me an extra drawing. She said, "For you." The gesture of being drawn by a close friend felt so sincere, so genuine, that it stun-locked me. For a while, it stun-locked me. This is June, an insanely talented artist to many who knew her. To me, above all, she was my best friend. If you are in the US of A, like me, you probably have encountered these type of desks before. The most uncomfortable piece of plastic and metal I have ever rested my double buns on. However unpleasant these desks were. When I see one now, I just get so nostalgic, and only happy memories fill my tiny little brain. Let me tell you a very unique story. A story about some desk vandalizers. It started halfway in the school year with a puzzle. 6th period health class. Randomly on my desk, a pencil drawing of some lines and a prompt that wrote, "Complete this puzzle" appeared. I just vaguely remembered connecting those lines to make a super S out of it and wrote "solved" next to the prompt with an anime character on the side. The next time I sat down on the same desk, a new drawing appeared. It was a drawing of some army guy. Of course, I was a bit confused, so I drew Zora from One Piece and wrote, "Did I solve the puzzle?" The class went on and 2 days had passed. I came back to a full illustration of a fucking dragon. I was impressed, but not wanting to be outshined, I drew a knight in a text bubble saying, "Bring it on," and a message along the line of, "Cool drawing, but please make the drawing smaller, I don't want to get in trouble." Next time I came back, all the drawings were erased and a new prompt appeared, so I obliged. Prompt, draw, erase, repeat. That exchange lasted for a good 2 weeks or so. It's crazy to say, but I was actually looking forward to health class more than ever now because of this cross-class communication through essentially desk vandalism. Health class was actually getting good. Besides that 1 week we hit the STD chapters. I was not excited for that one. A couple of weeks later, on the desk, a new message appeared. It said, "Check out my artwork," with an Instagram handle right underneath it. I gave them a follow and we started to chat, and through talking, we come to find out that we had Art 2 together for 7th period this whole time. What's crazy is that we've never once talked in art class ever, but after finding out who we were the best of friends. It's so strange that two artists who have the same art class together became friends through vandalizing a desk in health class. A health class that we don't even share the same class time in. Life is so strange. I don't get it. Sometimes you just have to vandalize something to make a friend. Please don't. I was just kidding. Please don't do that. Law and ethics class. I sat near this very outgoing guy. Extremely outgoing guy. Like so much so that being near him has an AoE effect. He just makes everybody feel nice. He is literally like the stereotypical popular guy you see in something like a High School Musical. Great at talking, has many friends, and very athletic. He was also considered to be one of the top runners in our school track team. This is all important for the twist, so bear with me, okay? I was finishing up my art assignment one day before class start, minding my own business, and to my left was the outgoing guy. He was talking to his friends, messing about, waiting for class to start also. And then it went quiet. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and a voice said, "That looks really good." He then continued, "I did not know you can draw." I looked up to see the very outgoing guy to my left, now leaning over me to see what I was drawing. He then went on, said he also likes to draw, but he thinks his skills were not good enough to show people. To me, when people say they like to draw, I will always ask to see their work. It's like my way of furthering the conversation, an exchange for showing interest in my artwork. So I asked to see his artwork, and he lit up in excitement. He handed me his sketchbook quickly, as if he knew I'd asked to see it. Like a flashbang to the face, I was surprised, but amazed. When I opened the sketchbook, I did not expect the art style this man possessed, but the drawings, they were really good. I asked what he used to color, and he said Copic markers. If you do any type of arts and crafts, you'd know how expensive these are. This dude had a whole pencil case of it. He was a hardcore artist, and he took his art style very seriously. Every page I turned to has a finished drawing, fully colored, fully rendered, sometimes full body illustrations. I'd even go further and say his technical skill of drawing outshined mine by like tenfold, and his understanding of anatomy was something else. But the thing is, The subject of the drawing was unexpected, to say the least. My dude was a massive furry. Sorry, I don't mean any offense or in any demeaning way when I said furry. It's art. Anyone can draw anything, no judgment on my part. It's just, again, unexpected. A seemingly normal, popular, athletic dude draws furry art was not fitting the stereotype at all. Like a cat barking. They don't usually do that. And I'm sorry for being so judgmental, but can you really blame me in this case? It's like a major whiplash. And every time I look up to see his reaction, he'd ask me what I think of his drawings. Every compliment or criticism I gave, he hung on to every single word of it, as if my words were of any importance. It's not. I'm not a good artist and wasn't even his friend at the time, but I think because I was also an illustrator, he held my word higher than most people that doesn't draw. And after that initial meeting, we became sort of art friends. So, high school furry dude in law class, I hope you are doing well in life right now. First day of school, Honors English 2. We were asked to go around the room and introduce ourselves. I turned to my right, said my name, and asked for theirs. Then repeat that to my left, to my back, and to my front. I have a really good feeling about this class. The teacher is nice, everybody around me seems nice, no other weirdos other than me. Great, but that introduction took about like 5 minutes into a 15-minute introduction session, so just like all my other classes that day. After I introduced myself, I started doodling on the syllabus while I waited for class to start. Luma. Sorry, I don't really draw people. I'm not really good at that. She then walked away and introduced herself to other classmates. That girl had so much confidence that it's kinda scary. Who the hell just walk up to someone and ask a stranger to draw them? Maybe because of how sincere and direct she was. When I got home that night, I spent a couple of hours trying my hardest to draw a portrait of her from memory. I felt like disappointing her with a bad drawing would make her hate me or something. But in hindsight, it shouldn't even matter. Why did I care so much back then? And why was I even doing it? The next day, the moment I saw her, I walked up to her and I gave her the drawing. There was a tense, awkward silence for a good minute. And without a word, I went back to my seat just before the bell rang and class started. Throughout the class period, I would still glances over at her. I'm not really sure what I was looking for or why I even did that. I felt like a creep, but I noticed something very endearing. She put this portrait I drew in this clear, see-through area in front of her binder. Having her so proud of my drawing to put it on her own stuff is weirdly gratifying, in a purely platonic way. From that day on, she would make an effort to befriend me. Since we shared a couple of classes together, she would help me with classwork, make an effort to talk to me between classes, and constantly invited me to play volleyball with her. Although we were friends, we lived in two different social circles. Our interests and hobbies were completely different. For context, she is more of a sociable, athletic soccer girl, and I'm an artist with the social isolationist tendencies. So not much we can talk about, other than the weather or classes. When we would walk to lunch together, our conversation usually were about those two topics. She would remind me of any homework I had to turn in, or ask how I did on my tests, what I think of the weather today, or what am I gonna do for the weekends. In some ways, I would think of her as this positively benevolent being always looking out for me, like an older sister of some kind. One irritating quirk of her is that she teases people a lot, Or at least she teases me a lot, saying stuff to get a reaction of me, making fun of me sometimes. I'm sure that was her way trying to make conversation because we have nothing to talk about, but sometimes I couldn't tell if she was serious, joking, or was just straight up being mean. Which leads to the last class of the last day of school. She sat with a group of her friends chatting about, and then I heard my name called out across the room. One of her friends was calling me over. I cocked my head and thought, what do you guys want? I made a face and resumed back to drawing. A couple of minutes later, one of her friends, this 7-foot-tall giant of a guy, walked up to me. In any other situation, one would think I was about to get bullied, but no. I know this guy. He was the nicest person ever. Side tangent, I remember he chose to sit next to me after realizing I was the only one sitting alone, leaving his group of friends to do so. And it meant a lot because for this class, if you choose the table at the beginning of the project, you cannot change it until the next project starts. So he basically abandoned half of his friends to sit with a kid that he barely knew because he just wanted to help him out. It just shows how nice of a person he is. An extremely kind and a gentle giant. This friendly giant came up to me and said,
"Hey, Luma, we all wanted to keep in contact after we graduate. Do you have like a phone number we could have?"
I don't really give up my phone number, sorry.
He then said, "How about a Facebook or Insta?"
I don't use social media. He leans closer and whispered,
"Hey, Kate says she likes you, man. She asked me to get your contact, you know?"
As a reminder, Kate and I have a somewhat weird dynamic. She is kind and thoughtful, but teases me often, so I tend to take her words with a lot of irony. I reply along the lines of, "Oh, don't believe that. She just says things. She's teasing." I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I looked over at Kate and shouted, "You're so funny, sis." I don't even know why I said sis there. Before that moment, I never call her sis, like ever. We were not that close. So why did I call her sis then? In hindsight, that was probably a panic response. I cringe every time I think about this. She looked at me, gave me a vague smile, and then she laughed. For a while, she laughed as I watched her trying to understand what or why she is laughing. Then, she just continued talking to her friends, as if nothing had happened, and I resumed back to my drawings. But I couldn't focus on what I was doing because what the f just happened? I ran through so many scenarios in my head while sitting there. Thought back to every encounter we had that year. And to this day, I came to the same conclusion. She most likely sent her friend over to tease me one last time. It had to be. To see me squirm, to be entertained by my reaction. She likes to tease people. She does that. That's her thing. To take her seriously at that moment just doesn't make any sense based on past experiences. If she liked me, why ask her friend to get my contact instead of doing it herself? And why would she even like me in that way? We were barely friends. Classmates fits more to describe our relationship than anything. All I could think of is, it was just teasing. Her one quality that irritated me, she got me. The bell rang for dismissal and summer vacation officially started. You know, I hate when people play with others' feelings. It's massively disrespectful, even if it was playful. Joking about feelings is crossing so many lines. But you know what's strange? No matter how many times I thought back at this interaction, however hard I tried, I can never hate Kate for teasing me in such a mean way. Because the portrait, the drawing from the beginning of the year, the useless, meaningless, worthless portrait drawing I made for Kate, she kept it. To the very last day of the last class, until the final ring of the school bell, she kept it. Protected and proudly displayed in front of her binder, she kept it. For the very first time, I was actually proud to be an artist. I'm thankful for my ability to draw because if I didn't have that, I would have never felt the joy of having a friend treasure my art so dearly. and that made me extremely happy for what our friendship became. For what it's worth, I'm glad we were friends. It's absurd how a story about drawing a portrait could mean so much to me. And to think it all started with her simple question, "Can you draw me?" Hey guys, how's it been? It's been a while for me. I went to Canada for a vacation. Here are some pictures. And oh, this picture, I was thinking of jumping off here. That's nice. Anyways, um yeah, as you can see, this video, not last, this current video, the video quality, the animation quality is a lot better than my previous ones. Hopefully that comes across as that, because this new process should be a lot more polished and a lot more easier for me to work in. My previous process was a mess. I was animating in one continuous timeline, and it was such a headache trying to fix anything in that workflow. But this new one, I'm doing it through clips and through some short chunks, and the workspaces are much more better. So it should look, hopefully to you guys, it should look way better than my last uploads. Anyways, I'll see you guys in a month or two. Thanks for sticking around to the very end.